Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Most of you are here very much on time, and we're very grateful. We'll be getting going here in just a second. Thank you all for being here this afternoon at Trinity, Holy Trinity Episcopal Church. The pews and the stained glass tend to give it away. We are not a concert hall, right? So things feel a little different if you know Maestro Haile from other positions. We are a living, breathing church community, and if you're not a part of this church community, I'd love to tell you more about it. We will invite you here. If you do have a church home, we would still love to see you here. We have principal services on Sunday at 8 a.m. for those of you that like the quick service, and 10:30 for those of you that like organ and choir. We're all set to go for that. We are also joined tonight, this evening, we're excited to say this, I'm especially excited to say this because I'm staff here. We're joined by our new church rector, Father Roy Tuff. We would like to welcome him very much for being here. Just a couple more things. This concert series is funded entirely by donations. There are no ticket sales, there are no bake sales, there are no pushing candy bars. There's none of that, okay? The concert series here is a mission that was kind of started by my predecessor to bring live classical art music to downtown Gainesville free of charge. And with the rising cost of, name it, we are in a place where we feel like our mission is even more important now to keep these concert series going. This season has gone very well for us. To keep it going, we are welcome for donations. If you have already given to the Music Fund, thank you so much. Thank you very much. If you have not, or would like to contribute again, there are donation forms in the back on the stand and on the table in the back, and we're very grateful. One little tiny mea culpa, and I'm glad she's in here for this. Dr. Shannon Lowe's name did not appear on the front of the poster of your program. We send that off to a printer to get that done. So we named two of the performers tonight, but not the third. And my apologies to Dr. Lowe. She is a fellow bassoonist, the new professor of bassoon at the University of Florida, and us old-time double-reed people have to stick together. So thank you very much. And without any further delay, please join me in warming and a warm welcome for Margaret Dixon, Shannon Lowe, Sherwood Wise, and Maestro Evans Hale.
Thank you all so much. Thank you all very, very much. And thank you for coming out on this beautiful Sunday afternoon when you could be doing, you know, so many other wonderful things. But there is one thing that is unique that I love and that I am so appreciate that you are part of it, which is sharing live time together. We don't do that so much anymore. And we should. And we need to. I mean, we are so connected to our phones, and they are good things. They connect us to the world and everything else. But the fact of the matter is that experience of sharing time together has become, unfortunately, I use the word unique. And afternoons like this allow us to hopefully maybe remind ourselves that there is some community and some commonality. These two pieces I start out with you playing today are by one of my absolute favorite composers. Anybody who comes to anything that I ever play are probably sick and tired of hearing this composer, except Ernesto Lecuona, the Cuban Gershwin, one of the great writers, an amazing history, was brought from Havana, where he had his major orchestra, major band, wrote all sorts of great zarzuelas, things like that. And then he came to this country by his, let's see, how you say it, his godson, Desi Arnaz. Yes. And became a very big composer over here, not only having his own band, but in Hollywood, all sorts of things. And you're going to hear more about him a little bit later. But I love starting with his music because it really does encapsulate that sense of being together, of vitality, and indeed crossing cultures. Something that we should never lose, which is that sense of being together and having the experience of other cultures, other lives, people who are different from us. This program is kind of a mismatch of a lot of things, but I will say that it handles four of the most important words that I think exist in the human language. And that is, and I say human, not just English, but in the human language, and that is once upon a time. Because the moment that you say once upon a time, you open the doors to all sorts of possibilities. Because you want to know what happens next. No one just says once upon a time and walks away. That's like going, you have to go, right? So if someone starts a conversation by saying once upon a time, you need an answer. So, once upon a time, on this river of time that we travel on, there was a composer. And he was one of the most beloved composers of all time. His name was Frédéric Chopin. And Frédéric Chopin lived back from 1810 to 1849 and wrote some of the most beautiful music that the world adores. But we tend to forget the connection of ourselves to time. And this is a story that those of you who've been to my performances before know this story well, but I think especially given recent events, it makes it even more important that we show how these dots are connected with each other. Because I had a teacher whose teacher was a student of Chopin. And Chopin gave that student a little pendant, who then gave it to his student, who then gave it to me. And this story I tell because, for me, it encapsulates the fact that time is in the palm of your hand. The connection to time is in the palm of your hand. And we are that closely related. And I'm going to play a piece because, again, as the arts and music and culture are going through its challenging period right now, I'm going to jump ahead from the 1840s to the 1940s, to a time where a piece by Chopin made all the difference in the world. There was a movie you might have known a few years ago called, actually now more than a few years, called The Pianist with Adrian Brody. Adrian Brody, who's up for an Oscar for right now, for The Brutalist, which is a very fine movie. And he played a pianist. And in this movie, you may recall, this was very true. This is one of those cases where facts are more strange than fiction. He played a wonderful pianist, and you may recall, for those of you who saw the movie, if you didn't, he was hiding out in Warsaw for the entire war. And there is a scene in the movie where he is in the attic of this building that's more or less bombed out, but the the Germans are using it as an office and during the day. And he would hide out very quietly all night, all day upstairs, making sure no one could hear him. And then at night, he would come down and forage for whatever food there was. The pianist's name was Spielmann, and we know this is all factual. That one night, as in the movie, he came downstairs thinking that everything was gone. It was empty. It was snowing outside. You can imagine what the temperature was like in the house. And he came downstairs, and he got caught, yes, by an officer who was standing there. And he looked up and he said, "Who are you?" And he said, "I'm Spielmann, I am a pianist." And he said, "Prove it." Exactly right. You're all ahead of me. And so Spielmann had to sit down and play the piano for this officer. Literally, he was playing for his life. And I'm going to play the piece that Spielmann actually played that night. That, in truth, did save his life. Again, underscoring the importance of how the arts really do connect us, really can literally save our lives, and are truly important. This is the Chopin Nocturne in C-sharp minor. Yes, I will for you. But it got all my cheat notes on it, so you can't take it all the way completely. Thank you. So, you never know when the arts might save your life. So never undervalue what they bring. Well, speaking of that, there's a composer who takes a lot of hits. And we're kind of in a place where this composer does get a lot of play, to be fair. But a lot of people don't think of this composer as someone that they truly want to go home and, you know, put on the CD or stream or whatever. And it's a shame, because this composer really influenced everything. Everything. Because keep in mind, in music, most of the music you listen to, all Western music, is made up of 12 notes. That's it. 12 notes. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then all the variations, right? 12 notes. And yet, it's amazing what happens when this music is really, when people take those notes and really do something with it. Well, this composer did exactly that. And this composer influenced everyone from Mendelssohn to Liszt, Chopin to Led Zeppelin. And it's true. And I do want to tell you a little bit, because, you know, this composer, who you always see when you go to a piano lesson, anybody who's piano class, you know, his bust is up there. You know, the poor guy didn't have legs; he just went to there. But this guy, otherwise known as J.S. Bach. Yes, and a lot of people will put Bach at the beginning of the program because it's like, okay, let's get that out of the way. But, you know, it's like, no. Let me tell you some things. Bach was an incredible guy. He got into sword fights all the time. He had quite the temper. Famously, he got into a sword fight with the bassoonist, and by the time he was finished with the bassoonist was an oboe player. So he spent a month in jail fighting with an employer, truly, because the employer wouldn't pay him what he thought he was worth. And so, you know, not only that, he had a great sense of humor. He wrote a cantata. Now, a cantata is basically, you know, for lack of a better word, a cantata is just basically like a little musical. Now, it could be sacred, or it could be secular, but it's basically a little musical. And he wrote a cantata that could be played today, and is played today, but has as much resonance today as it was then. And it's called the coffee cantata. Because when Bach was alive, coffee shops were everywhere. You did not go anywhere without stopping at your coffee shop to have. So it was the Starbucks of the time. And he wrote this little cantata about a young lady who was so in love with coffee that she refused to get married. She said, a good cup of coffee is better than 1,000 kisses. And there might be people who would agree with that. And her father's name was Schlandrian, was determined that he was going to marry her off. And she said, well, no, I'm not going to get married unless it's someone who will drink coffee with me. And so he'd bring all these people in, and he would say, no, they got to drink coffee. And he was having a terrible fit about this until he finally found someone who loved coffee. And of course, the way the cantata ends is them all sitting down to have a cup of coffee. So, you know, Bach was an incredible, and also, you know, the thing is, people think of Bach and they think of all these little running little notes and things like that. But here's an example of Bach that I bet you did not even know was there. Child, call me by your name. So that, as I said, the influence is amazing. So I want to play a little fugue for you, a little prelude as well that goes along with it, because one should not have one without the other. And take that in mind as you listen to this, of a very human guy, yes, he was incredibly cerebral, but actually a very human guy. And I will say, in the prelude, there is a virus that tends to come out sometimes when people play these preludes. And it is the Bounces Foetus Bacchus. Very serious. If you find that your feet start tapping and your hands start wanting to clap, that is the virus. So it is perfectly okay. This is the prelude and fugue from the WTC which is well-tempered clavier. And you know, if you ever want a truly boring afternoon, ask someone to explain well-tempered music to you. It makes no sense to me, and I've been around this business for a long time. But anyway, the D minor Prelude and Fugue. It. The great thing about Bach is that he truly represented pure music. And what I mean by that is you could play almost every piece of his at almost any tempo and it would still work. The fugue you're going to hear is but that could go in these different ways. And they both work. And that's the amazing thing of Bach, is that it is pure music. So I will now play the Prelude and Fugue in D minor. Thank you. Music, like I said, is making it basically those 12 letters, those 12 notes, right? And some other basic practical things. Scales and arpeggios. What do we do when we get up in the morning? After we've done our sit-ups and after we've had our coffee, we practice our scales and arpeggios. Doesn't matter how old, doesn't matter how many times but you get up and you do it. Because that's just what keeps you in shape. And all music basically comes down to scales and arpeggios. So if you know your scales and arpeggios, you can play just about anything. And I want to play two pieces for you. One that truly is that made up of nothing but arpeggios. It's a piece nothing but arpeggios from beginning to end. And yet, this is Debussy. Debussy spins these arpeggios into something that is truly magical. And it's nothing, bear in mind, it is nothing but arpeggios. Now, take those arpeggios, take those scales, combine them together, and you have the next piece I'm going to play, the two pieces I'm going to play, which is probably one of the most famous pieces beloved across the world. I play it literally, I think, just about every concert. People are so sick of it at this point. But because for me, it is a piece that always stays fresh, always stays beautiful. And it also encompasses something I love, which is love and lust in the shadows. Sorry, we're in a church, but let's face it. It is the music of the night. It is those things that bring in the increments and the nuance of shadows. And as a matter of fact, there's some scientific statements to back me up on this. Mystery and imagination. Darkness can stimulate the imagination, adding a layer of mystery and intrigue to interactions, which can be exciting and alluring. I read that on the internet, so we know it's true. Sensory enhancement, reduced light, can heighten other senses like touch and sound, making physical interactions more intense and meaningful. So this next piece, although it's a beautiful day here, if you want to close your eyes, that's perfectly okay. But I did want to read a poem that I always think of when I play that piece. Because it's one of those pieces that we usually learn as kids, but you continue playing for the rest of your life. And this poem, like I said, encapsulates that beautifully. Winkin', blinkin', and nod. One night sailed off in a wooden shoe, sailed on a river of crystal light into a sea of dew. Where are you going and what do you wish? The old man asked the three. We have come to fish for the herring fish that live in this beautiful sea. Nets of silver and gold have we, said Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod. All night long those nets they threw to the stars in the twinkling foam. Then down from the skies came the wooden shoe, bringing those fishermen home. 'Twas a pretty sight it sailed, it seemed, as if it couldn't be, and some folks thought it was a dream that they had dreamed of sailing that beautiful sea. But I will name you the fishermen three, Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod. Winkin' and Blinkin' are two little eyes, and Nod is a little head. And the wooden shoe that sailed the skies is a little one's trundle bed. So shut your eyes as you hear this song of wonderful sights that might be, and perhaps you will see these beautiful things as you rock in the misty sea under that beautiful moon where the old shoe rocked the fishermen three, Winkin', Blinkin', and Nod. I don't think I even need to tell you the title of the piece that I'm going to be playing. I think you will recognize it. Well, I mean, again, that is one of those pieces, as I said, you learn as a child, and then it keeps coming back, and it keeps coming back, and every time you look at it, it's kind of like layers of life, which I think, there is a parallel there. Well, I'm going to play two pieces now for you. Well, that was two pieces, so all right, so you get another pair of pieces. This takes it to a whole different level, because, we all hopefully fall in love at least once or twice in life. And sometimes it lasts and sometimes it doesn't. I once dated someone who said, and we dated for 5 years, and he always said, I'm attracted and repelled by you at the same time. But it lasted for 5 good years, and we're still very close friends, so there you go. But that's the story of passion, isn't it? That's the story of life. We climb the mountains, we do all that other stuff, and then et cetera. So, but that is it. So, but I want to play. These are two pieces by Franz Liszt, and this first is a sonnet by Petrarch that it was inspired by, and I think it says about love very well, and says about relationships, talks about relationships very well, and this is Petrarch. Warfare I cannot wage, yet know not peace. I fear, I hope I burn, I fly again. Mount to the skies, then bound to earth my face. Grasp the whole world, and yet nothing can obtain. Sightless I see my fair, though mute I mourn. I scorn existence, yet court its stay, and detest myself, and for another burn. By grief I'm nurtured, and though tearful gay, death I despise, and life alike I hate. Such, lady, do you make my wretched state. So I think that says, passionate relationships pretty well. I'm then going to play the 10th Hungarian Rhapsody, which is a piece very close to my heart, because I had the great opportunity to tour with the Moscow Philharmonic many years ago. This is BP, before Putin. And we had a marvelous time with Gorbachev. And Gorbachev, I got to know him rather well. And as a matter of fact, we spent a very drunken night at Spasa House one night with him playing the accordion and playing gypsy music and me playing the piano. And I will say that the next day he gave me a beautiful accordion that I have on my piano here. So, but it is, again, it goes back to this notion of we only live in one world. I mean, we dream about those planets out there, but basically we have this world. We better find a way of making it work, because otherwise it just won't exist. But when I did this tour, it was really cool because there was us with the Moscow Philharmonic, and then Metallica on a parallel tour with us. It was USIA. Another reason why USAID is important, ladies and gentlemen, and should be funded, because it allowed us to travel across the country, across the world. And again, one night we would have the Moscow Philharmonic and we'd be playing Tchaikovsky and Gershwin and all sorts of things. And the next night Metallica would be in there, yes. And we would see, hey, how are you doing? Oh, let's go get some vodka, because that is indeed what they drink. And starting at 8 a.m. And then we'd say, hey, see you in Novosibirsk, or see you in wherever it was going to be. But one of the most wonderful experiences, because the audiences came and screamed as loudly for the Moscow Philharmonic as they did for Metallica. The power of music, the power of the arts. If you just open the doors and let it in, it's amazing how it can transform people's lives. So this is the sonnet, the Petrarch Sonnet 104, and the 10th Hungarian Rhapsody. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. As you know, I'm so proud to be part of the Gainesville Orchestra. We are thrilled that we are able to bring so many different stories, so many different types of music, and true diversity in everything that we do with our orchestra and the music that we're able to play. And it's a pleasure this afternoon to introduce you to a couple of people, because if maybe you have not been to one of our concerts, I highly invite you to. This coming Friday, Scheherazade, one of the greatest orchestral works ever written, a beautiful piece by John Adams, and even a little bit of Tom and Jerry. I'll let you have to come and figure out what that is. But we're so proud of the artists because we have wonderful artists who play with us. And so it's my pleasure to bring out our principal horn, truly a wonderful artist, Margaret Dixon. All right, Margaret will tell you a little bit about what she's going to play. I've never seen this before.
Good afternoon, everyone. When I was invited to perform this afternoon, I kind of racked my brain about what to play. My first impulse was like, oh, just play Mozart. But then I thought you've probably already heard the Mozart Horn Concerto when you were eating at Panera. So I wanted to play something a little different because as an orchestral performer, I don't get a lot of opportunities to play solo rep anymore. I did when I was in school when I was younger, but now the opportunities are few and far between. So I wanted to play something a little different, a little out of the box. So the first thing I'm playing is a lovely French lullaby. It's not loud or abrasive or super technical. It's just very beautiful music, so just very pleasing to listen to. And then the next two pieces are a little Latin jazz, so a little dance music. As a classically trained person, I don't get a lot of opportunities to play jazz or Latin jazz, so it's especially on the French horn, you know, maybe on the trumpet, maybe on like clarinet, stuff like that, trombone, but horn doesn't get that opportunity as often. So I just wanted to play something a little different, something you probably haven't heard on the horn, so I hope you enjoy.
Margaret Dixon, everybody. If you had the opportunity of hearing our Mahler Fifth a few weeks ago, she was amazing in the solos. Anybody who knows Mahler knows that horn solos are, you take a lot of vitamins that day. Well, now, we're here to make music, and we want to make music together, and I do believe that everybody can make music. Everybody can play an instrument, even if you've never had a lesson. So I just would like to know, is there anybody here who has never taken a piano lesson in their life? Raise it. Wow, we have a few. You're married to a pianist. You should be studying. I'm sorry, raise your hands if you've never taken a piano. You've never taken a piano lesson, never played the piano. But you've never taken a piano lesson. You are a true piano lesson virgin. Come up to the piano, would you please? Yes, be careful when you answer questions. Now, no, I'm even going to give you a nice chair here. I'm going to give you a nice little chair here. Okay? No, you can't take my chair, but you can take this chair. All right. So, now, do you know how the piano is? We have 3 black keys, two black keys, 3 black, right? Right? There are, like I said, there are only 7 alphabetical letters, right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Exactly. Okay, so to the left of the 2 black keys is always C. All right, yeah. So there's C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and guess what? You're back to C again, right? Easy, right. Okay, I've been working awfully hard. I'm going to go get something to drink, entertain them, play something. It'll be lovely. Thank you. Thank you very much. Whatever, you've got the alphabet. Now, all right, so here's what we're going to do. I want you to give me your finger, but be careful, not the 3rd finger, preferably. Pick a favorite finger. Good, okay, that's a good one. Now, I want you to play this note, okay? Now, every time I nod my head like this, you're to play that note. Very good, okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, what's your name? Travis. All right. Travis and I are now going to play the Mazurka a Glissando by Ernesta Lacuona. All right. They're so pushy. When I nod my head, play the note. Yes, right? Right? No, yeah, right? Thank you, Travis. Now, Travis, I expect that you're going to work very hard on this and practice that note a lot. So next time I come over, it's perfect. Oh, that was very close. That was very close. Well, I do want to play a couple of pieces by Ernesto Lacuona because, a wonderful Wizard of Oz. Because he is one of the greatest Cuban composers that ever came out. And he did. He was quite amazing. He, as I said, he came to this country. He wrote for films. He wrote for television. He had his own band. He lived in Tampa, and ultimately he died in Tampa. But I want to set this tone for you for these two pieces I'm going to play for you. One of them he actually wrote and got an Oscar nomination, and it's called Siempre en mi corazón, always in my heart. I have played in Miami, and I have learned that if I play in Miami, I have to end the concert with this piece. People will start singing. This piece got an Oscar nomination. It did lose, but it lost to White Christmas. So if you're going to lose, an Oscar, I guess it's not bad that you're going to lose it to White Christmas. So I'm going to play this wonderful piece in Siempre en mi corazón, always in my heart. Again, love, looking up at the sky, and how I will always see you there in the stars. The other piece I'm going to play is probably his most famous piece ever written, that you all will recognize in the same way that you recognize Clair de Lune. I assume no one had never heard of Clair de Lune before. And if you had not, well, good on you, first time. But I want to set the tone of the world that we're entering in. And that is Havana before the revolution. Havana, where there was, in Havana, where you had the clubs, the nightclubs. People would literally get on a plane from Miami, travel down there for a night or an afternoon, come on back, Pan Am, Yankee Clipper would take you down there. And I have a wonderful, wonderful description by a showgirl who is down there at the Tropicana. Her name was Ana Gloria Varona, and she wrote this. She said, "We hid behind a gold curtain when the passengers would come on board, just like a real cabaret. My dance partner, Rolando, and I were to put on a live floor show in the front of the cabin. We even had a band from the Tropicana with us, a pianist, a bongo player, a drummer, and a trumpet player." Imagine the sound in that little plane. The passengers started off with pink daiquiris, and as soon as the plane took off, Rolando and I bounced out and started the show. Singing and dancing. When we landed, we jumped on the Tropicana's bus and headed straight to the club. So, ladies and gentlemen, the music of Ernesto Lacuna. Thank you. That's your favorite. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you. You've got this. You've got the Cuban spirit in you, I see. Well, we'd like to end the program today with a wonderful trio, and again, two great artists who are with us, who have played with the orchestra. One is our principal oboe player, and it is a wonderful piece. This piece is by Poulenc, and I think Poulenc is one of the great, some known but I think underappreciated French composers ever that came along. We know some of his works. There are some of his operas that are done, but this music is just so beautiful, and I think that Cole Porter said it very well. And I have a French aunt here today who may agree or disagree with me. And the lyrics to this are so wonderful. Cole Porter, who loved Paris in the springtime, he lived in Paris and loved Paris. But he wrote a wonderful song called "You Don't Know Paris." He said, "You might know Paris, but you don't know Paris. You've been around a lot and danced a lot and laughed a lot. You don't know Paris. You may have say you've seen a lot and heard a lot, but you don't know Paris. Paris will still be laughing after every one of us disappears. But never forget, her laughter is the laughter that hides the tears. Until you've lived a lot and loved a lot and lost a lot, you will not know Paris." And this wonderful trio by Poulenc, I think, says all of those wonderful things. Please welcome Sherwood Wise and Shannon Lowe, Dr. Shannon Lowe. Thank you all so much for coming. Thank you all for supporting the music here at Holy Trinity. Thank you for the wonderful support that is given in this church to make music. Music is important. Music makes you feel better. It makes you live longer. It makes you look better. So thank you for coming. We hope you'll come to many of the other concerts, and thank you for being with us this afternoon.